The Deere Agency specializes in helping you understand your coverage before you need it. We offer all lines of personal and commercial insurance, including auto, home, and life. Contact Don Deere at 210-507-2169 and visit us at 7529 North Loop 1604 in Live Oak, Texas, or farmersagent.com/ddeere.
Are you pregnant and alone? You have options. The Sanctuary of Hope offers expectant mothers ages 12 to 22 a place to live, medical care, counseling, continued education, and options to raise your baby in a loving environment or help you with adoption. We want to help provide you and your baby with a bright future. Call us or email us today and let's walk through this together. 210-499-1554 or sohcares.org. All inquiries are confidential.
I Am Refocused Radio is brought to you by Documation, service that serves. Technology solutions to keep you moving forward. Visit nation.com today. You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shemaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shemaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. And today, you know what time it is. We have two favorite guests, John Stevens and Coach B, Michele. First and foremost, I just want to take the time right now and say both of y'all, big shout out to what y'all are doing in the community. I know I don't say a whole lot, but I'm watching. And y'all doing so much great things. John's dropping some good music in the near future. We're going to get into that a little bit in the show today. But B. Michele came up with a great topic, value of your voice, the value of your voice. So I just want to welcome you both to the show and say, how y'all doing?
I'm good. Hopefully everybody is staying safe and still maintaining. And
it's a lot. I'm doing good. I'm maintaining. We're approaching month 5 of this whole situation. And I'm doing good.
So, B. Michele, man, I'm going to let you have the honors because you came up with this idea, the value of your voice. Let's set this up for the audience, man, because this is something I believe is not just needed, but it's something that's timely for people right now.
So it's funny. Okay, so when we kind of really started talking about it, I don't know if you've seen my last couple Facebook posts, but they've been about value and how we have to start really understanding what our value is, not necessarily our worth, but what our value is, because value will always outweigh worth. And really, your value dictates your worth in a monetary sense, so from a business standpoint. So I think, but also we have to start valuing our voice in the sense that it doesn't necessarily mean, during election time or any of that, but your voice is every day, all day. Your voice is in your community, your voice is in your family, your voice is in your church. Your voice is wherever you decide to take a stand. And honestly, and I think with the whole thing with last month when we actually, lost John Lewis, a lot of everything that he stood for was about calling out stuff that was wrong.
Yeah.
And, the whole good trouble theme. And I think sometimes we really need to embrace and realize that we can use our voice to go to bat for things that really matter. And it does necessarily have to be on a wide spectrum, but if it gets that type of attention, hey, so be it. Ride the wave. But I think just on a day-to-day basis, we have to be comfortable in our skin and comfortable with the tone of our voice. And I mean, from the tone of our voice, how we use it to advocate. Yeah. For me, a good portion of when I'm advocating, when I'm out here really kind of in these streets, really on the advocacy level, is for small businesses. Mm-hmm. And being even though my business is about small business. So I'm either between children and small business. So if I'm out here pushing something or advocating for something, it's one of those two industries, and how we use it and the power that we have within it. I think sometimes you don't really realize it until you've actually been in a situation where you have to stand up. Mm-hmm. And you have to, whether you post something on social media, or whether you say something in an interview, or whether you go somewhere to make change. That support has to be there. And I talked about that in a Facebook Live yesterday about you got to have at least 2 solid ride or dies at any time of the day.
Yeah.
But your circle of influence really helps dictate a lot in your personal life and in your business life. And your circle of influence can also help elevate your voice.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
So when
definitely.
you know the right people, when you know the right people, they can help you get on platforms and get in places that you might not have gotten without that support. So I think we also just have to, once we find our voice and realize what it is and what we want to do with it, is definitely understand the value that you have. And I think through our whole climate over these last 5 months, we've seen people from all age range, but especially young people, really take to the streets to use their voice and not care about it, and not just like, hey, we are here. It doesn't get jumbled up, and you have a clear focus on how you're going to use your voice to get done what you need to get done.
Yeah, because, you know, when you talk about having a clear focus on the voice, that, man, is so key, because you will attract who you're reflecting as far as how you carry yourself, how you see yourself, and the ideas and principles and morals that you have. Because, like you said, when you have that close circle, they get you. You know what I'm saying? Like, they inspire you without even having to hit you up. Because, like I said, I see y'all busy, and I don't always say stuff, but I'm watching because it's like, man, I'm doing my thing. Wow, I see they doing this thing. Like I said, John about to drop some new music pretty soon. Like, Michele always on the Facebook Live. It's like, man, I feel like I'm behind because I need to get my thing going too. But my point is, that is so true when you have people that are like-minded in your circle, you know, when it's faith, when it's inspiration, when it's just, okay, I'm a human being. Sometimes quoting scripture ain't going to get me through today because I'm a human. You know what I'm saying? I have problems too. But you get to reflect, though, and get back in the game. And that's what I believe you're saying, Michele, when you have those right people in your life, they help you get back into the game, especially when the times get difficult. You can always have that one or two people that can help you get back on track.
Yeah, I mean, because I think even with all the stuff that's happening, I think you said in your daily life, I think some people feel like they haven't been heard just through normal situations and through the struggle of this day to day. Yeah. But I think with the way social media is set up now, as John, you can totally attest, you know, to this, and being in a situation where you have the ability, especially, you know, directing, you know, music at a church, like your voice can be heard in a number of different ways. But when you actually are in a platform where you can speak to people, you know, obviously we're not in our normal church setting. So when you're leading praise and worship, that's you using your voice and, you know, through God, and, you know, with God, you know, using you through, you know, song and being able to talk to people on that platform, like, it can be used anywhere. But we just have to get comfortable with using it the right way to really help bring change, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I totally agree. And one thing you said while you were talking earlier, and I want to kind of touch back on that, using your voice and having the people around you, I think that helps resonate your voice further than what we ever, you know, could imagine, because we're so, okay, this is our circle, this is my space. But when when you raise your voice, when you shape your mouth a certain way, and I'm going into like my vocal coaching right now, there's certain things you can do with your voice to reach a certain distance. There's certain things you can do with your voice to get a certain sound, get a certain vowel. And it applies to life, you know. And one thing I want to add to that, your voice is powerful in the sense that people may never see you, but what you say, how you live, how you conduct yourself, that also speaks as well. Your voice is your lifestyle, and your lifestyle is your voice. You know, we might not have, you know, and I'm talking to people who may like they don't have a lot of friends, or they don't have this huge circle, or even have a worthy or notable platform. Live your life the best way you can. Treat people right. Do things that will help bring somebody to their next level. That's also your voice. You know, helping somebody, you know, waving at somebody, you know, walking down the street, nodding at somebody. I know we all do that stuff. And you see how, you know, somebody you don't know, hey, how you doing? That brings a smile on their face. And you don't know what they're walking into, coming into, you know, just things like that. And I take that kind of seriously because, again, in this this world that we're in right now, this pandemic, and there's so many things going on. And I know we're not going to get too political or talk about too much of the sports stuff, but even in all those arenas, these players, these politicians, and the people who are attached to these different realms, they're using their voice as well. We're not as good or bad, it's up to the listener to determine, but everybody is using their voice to say something at this time. And with that, and I'm going to turn it over to Shemaya, with that, we have to be careful what voices we're listening to.
Man, once again, I'm Refocus Radio talking to John Stevens and Coach B, Michele. What you just said, John, right there. Man, I just want to push this down the road for our listeners. Be so careful what voices you're listening to, man, because you hit two things, man. What you just said right there and there, and the other thing you said about those who may not have a big circle or a big influence. Don't worry about that. I mean, look at Jesus, for crying out loud. How many followers did he have, man? He did have like millions and millions and millions of people tweeting him and liking his stuff and retweeting him and pushing him and telling him he's the best. Man, you got to focus on what God sees you as, because if you know the value system that God has, you can implement that in your life and you attract the right people in your life, because it's not about how many, but the quality, because we get so caught up in the rat race. And don't get me wrong, I think we're all human. We all want to be successful. We all want to do great things. And it's nothing wrong with that. But you still have to keep that perspective of quality and not quantity.
Yeah.
No, that's a good point. And I think like one of the things I will say stemming from my educator background is that with that I said kind of played out with a lot of things that's happening now and how our youth have definitely showed up and showed out. I think that we, especially I feel like even in our community, in the African American community, we have to start in that paradigm shift of allowing our kids to be vocal, but and even showing them how to use their voice respectfully. Mm-hmm. Because culturally, we kind of come from a be seen and not heard situation. So it's like we kind of got to move away from that in a right way. You know what I'm saying? But also it's in our kids that you have a voice, and here's how you use it. Here's when you use it. Because we have, I think, and every culture has its thing, but I think sometimes we have suppressed when growing up, your voice gets suppressed because you're a kid. And now we have children running $1 million businesses. Well, they own them, but probably their parents in the background, of course. But you have running $1 million businesses. Like, honestly, you have a lot of youth leaders. Obviously, you have youth pastors. I'm pretty sure a lot of people that we know that's current pastors, that's older, they probably started preaching when they was like 12 and 13. So I think even in that, we definitely can't get caught up on the messenger and lose sight of the message. So helping our kids understand that, and kids keep it 100 if nobody else do. But I think so now we also have to be in that shift of helping empower our youth and empower our children to use their voice and let their message be heard and create platforms and situations for them as well, because that's how you get the John Lewis's, the Barack Obamas, all of it, by really instilling that and encouraging that behavior.
And I want to piggyback on what she said as well. There's something about the message when your message and your voice is dipped in truth and honesty, and you're centered. People will take your message to where it needs to be heard. So you yourself don't have to be found everywhere going out trying to reach, this person, that person, and these people over here. If your message is reaching the heart and is affecting change somewhere, people will take your voice, your message, and put it where it needs to be heard. I think with the John Lewis's, the Barack Obama, and several other people who have affected change in our community, that's what happens, because we're not directly close to them. I haven't met John Lewis before he passed, but I have heard several things that he said through the years not just in the past year and since all this stuff has been going on. I followed John Lewis from a young age, and other people in my direct community, the pastors, preachers, mothers, people in the community, or just random people that say, hey, man, there's something about you that's different. People take that and they put it where it needs to be. Because, again, remember, what we say brings life to other people. Our words are life. And I don't want to get too deep into the word in the Bible, but that's the thing. There's life and death in the power of the tongue. So knowing that we have that capability, knowing that we have that power inside of us to speak life and positivity and greatness and all these great things into our atmosphere and into the next person, why not use that? Why not use that same power to uplift and revive somebody?
No, I mean, because, it's funny, because I was just talking to somebody last night, just even about my immediate family. We all have our family dynamics. And it's sometimes like this is advocacy and trying to empower and encourage people. Like, that's hard, that's work. That's a whole job.
Yeah.
Trying to use your voice for good to help somebody change their mindset, to hopefully change their life and their outlook. Like, that's a whole mission.
Yeah.
That's a whole ministry right there. But you stay the course, because especially with the close people in your family, your siblings, like, you don't want to be the only person successful. Like, honestly. Right. So you try, to definitely use your voice, use your influence to really help where you can, and you keep on with the hopes of. It's like, honestly, it's really like teaching. Like, you might teach the same lesson 20 times, and the light bulb may finally go off.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right.
And you've been saying the same thing in September, but the kids finally get it. But hey, they got it. And so I think sometimes this is why you have to consistently have your message out there, because they may not get it on the first round. Your family member, your cousin, or whoever out there may not get it that first time it's spoken, but come 5 months down the line, it may really light bulb. And I think our current pandemic situation, a lot of light bulbs have gone off since March.
Yeah.
But a lot of people been saying a lot of the same things, but we really wasn't listening.
Sometimes it takes that where you have to go through something to wake up, so to speak. Like, you have to go through some trouble to say, man, my mom kept telling me that when I was a little kid, and man, okay, I get it now. And that happens because what you just said, Coach B, is when someone is given, right, the right words, the right nutrients, right, to help wake them up, it's almost like someone taps you on the shoulder, like, hey, warning, warning. And then sometimes we don't listen to that or whatever, and then before you know it, it becomes a push, like, yo, man, you better wake up because you better wreck yourself. So I believe when people take the time, especially right now, like, you don't have no excuse right now to, like, look at your life. Like, just slow down, reflect, and find out where you need to grow. Because I know personally I've done that so much right now where I'm just trying to slow down, think about, okay, what am I doing? Am I doing the right things? Am I doing the wrong things? Well, guess what? We're all human beings. But at the same time, this right now, you have so much time in your hands to really adjust yourself, to grow up, to be the best that you can really be, because you have no excuse. You have resources. If you don't think you have resources, find somebody who is where you want to be, because they can help you get through that challenge that you might be facing. You feel like you're stuck. You need to surround yourself with people who can get you unstuck, period.
There's one thing that I'm very, very, like, driven about, and it's about using your voice. I mean, and aside from me being a singer and a speaker and all that stuff, I just really believe we kind of grew up in a household where we were told if you need help, say something. Don't be out here needing something and then you don't say something. And I'm sure everybody that's listening and us on this podcast, I'm sure we've been guilty of needing things and not saying something. And then, when the need comes before people, the first thing is, well, why didn't you say something? Yeah. And we, well, I didn't feel like I had to. I got no. And the response is no. If you need something, open your mouth and say something. And a lot of us go through that. You know, we feel like we got it all together, and we don't need to say anything. We don't need to use our voice because we figure, okay, well, I'm strong, I'm independent, I can do this. And that's not how our lives are designed. Yeah. Just like we'll run and tell, you know, in the entertainment industry, it seems like a lie will travel quicker because it's more entertaining. Mm-hmm. But now what I'm seeing, and I'm loving it so much, we're seeing a lot of positivity out there. Yeah. We're seeing a lot of graduation. We're seeing a lot of accomplishments. Whereas years ago, a lot of that stuff was suppressed because it wasn't entertaining. It wasn't the loudest voice, if you will. And one thing I want to say, and I'm going to pass it to B, our voice, our message should do one of two things, in my opinion. Our message should motivate us, and our voice should mature us. We can't just be going around just saying stuff if it's not meant to spark a fire in somebody to do better, and if it's not meant to elevate you to your next. Your voice, your message, your ministry, if you want to call it that, it should motivate you and it should mature you.
No, I mean, that's like dead on. Like, I'm glad, two great words, motivation and mature. Because I think at some point we have to, when we get to a certain point in our life, in our career, or whatever path we're on, you hope that, you know, that maturity kind of comes with that. And I think you have to be cognizant of that. So when you do get to a certain level, it's almost like if you think about it, as you grow up, especially mostly boys, obviously your voice inflection change as you get older, your voice get a little bit deeper. And so I think it's the same thing when you're young and you start to speak out on things, and you start to, you know, use your voice to advocate. And as you get older, your voice get a little deeper. You mature. And I think the same thing, even in going progression in life, your message changes. Now, I went from obviously being in education for 17 years, so my message was advocating for children and helping us educate them properly. Now, being in the business realm, my message has got a little stronger, and the tone has changed, even though in the industry as well, but I'm still advocating for kids no matter what. But as you get older, you progress through life, your message does change. Your voice get a little bit deeper. And so in that, when your circle of influence and the positions that you're in or may not be in also dictates how mature your message is. But you're right about one thing, like when your message is really dipped in truth and honesty and real compassion, the masses will take it out there for you. And you don't have to be everywhere, because you can't be everywhere. But just like in the age of social media, people will share your posts. Mm-hmm. People will repeat what you said, or they'll either say what you said and tag you in it, or however. Now we got ways to really get the message out there, or retweet something that you said. So there's a lot of, and sometimes your message is being shared even when you don't know it's being shared. Mm-hmm. Like, so people always, and you're being talked about in rooms that you have no idea.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
I think that this is why you always have to, I'd say, in a sense, know the value of your voice, and at all times, like, really lead with the intentions of being positive, and lead with the intentions, or put your message out there with the intentions for it to definitely motivate somebody to do better. Because I think right now we're totally in a time where it's fight or flight. Like, you got to come with it. Hey, there's no Superman coming. Much as they play around, there's no Superman coming for some of us. Mm-hmm. So now like you say, if you need help, you need support, if it's something that you're advocating for, hey, you gotta say it. You gotta speak on it.
And another thing I'll add, and by the way, listen, I am Refocus Radio, talking to John Stevens and Coach B. Michele. Another thing I add to both what both of y'all are saying is find somebody to support. Because I feel like sometimes we get caught up and we're like, man, I wish more people support me and what I'm trying to do. But wait, pause. How many people have you supported lately? Because I think that is also a communication, if you will. If you show people that, hey, I do care about other people's voices, I do care about other people's perspectives in life, that opens up your mind and everyone else's mind to say, okay, that person's reachable, or okay, that person's they're not just all about themselves, but they like to celebrate everybody else, because you will be celebrated when your time is supposed to be. But sometimes you got to plant those seeds and celebrate others, because you never know. You can be helping them get through their storms, and before you know it, it'll come right back to you when it's your time.
No, I mean, honestly, that's what leads into that whole, like you said, our last topic about being of service. But you're right, your voice, and just like what John said, your voice has to have a message that carries, to be supportive, that's going to help somebody change something in their life. Because you just talking to just talk.
Yeah.
Like, see, your voice has to be about, bringing about change. If you're going to use it, and understand the value of it and how the effect that you can have on somebody else's life.
Yeah.
So it's really never about you, but obviously if there's something going on in your life and you need some support, you totally, like John said, you speak on it. You go to where your support system is. Yeah. But when you're, I think, putting out messages and you're trying to encourage, it always has to come from a place of being about other people.
Exactly.
Yeah, I totally agree. And again, like we alluded to earlier, when you surround yourself with people, with your crew or whoever, that amplifies your voice. Again, if you around people that really don't necessarily support what you do, mm-hmm. or you don't support what they do, that diminishes the volume mm-hmm. of your voice. I'm grateful to see a lot of shifting in our voices, especially in this time. We've had 5 months to really assess who we are, what we can do, what hasn't been done right. And like I said, I'm glad that I'm seeing a lot of positive and great messages coming out of this pandemic. Everything has not been all bad for everybody. Everything has not been, gloom and doom. And I don't know how it has not been like that for a lot of people that we're seeing now. People have been really quiet, really to themselves, really checking their messages, making sure that when they step back out on the scene, their voice is potent, their voice is powerful, their voice speaks beyond a pandemic. And I'm seeing a lot of that, even with this radio show. The things that we're doing, I'm sure have helped a number of people that we may never see, touch, hear, all of that stuff. And it's the same thing across the world. Our voices, again, and what I love about the design of each and everybody's voice is just that. It's your voice. It's your design. You might have people that sound similar to you, but it's not you. Your voice is your identity. There's certain things that I have heard people say time and time and time again in my life. And I can remember probably about 2 or 3 instances where I've heard my parents say one thing and somebody else years later said the same thing and the light came on. And it wasn't that I didn't honor, hear, or respect my parents' voices. It just took that one time that sound traveled deep in here, and it hit different. It brought about a whole new mindset, a whole new shift in how I live. And that's another thing too. Don't take familiar voices too common. Just because you're friends with somebody, just because you're cool with them, you rub shoulders with them. Don't diminish or devalue their voice, because what you diminish or devalue, somebody else may hold in the highest regard. And we tend to treat people differently because we're friends with them, or we know them from Facebook, or I grew up with them. That in no way does that diminish their gifting. In no way does that darken their identity, because the same voice that B. Michele has off the air is the same voice that B. Michele has on air when she's down the street advocating, when she's downtown networking at several functions. It's the same voice. How you receive the voice is up to you. And I'm done.
Boom. I mean, man, drop that mic, man.
That was a word. That was a word right there.
Pay attention, man.
Although we need a strong circle, of influence. That sometimes that familiarity can also be like you're not really hearing it because hey, we with you all the time. But I think you also have to even within your circle, there has to be a level of we're gonna always elevate. And so that has to be a common thing within the circle that we will elevate each other and push each other through no matter what, so that familiarity doesn't necessarily sink in. And sometimes you gotta, and honestly, I think a lot of times we do gotta kind of take a step back. And when somebody that's close to us kind of tell us something, because I think we underestimate that when somebody really close to us say something to us, like, especially if it's like deep, like if a close person had to say this to you, you probably should really, really take heed. Because and sometimes it takes a lot for us to really pull our people to the carpet. Mm-hmm. So when somebody that really love you and care about you pull you to the carpet and really want to make sure, hey, we need to move as a unit. Hey, we need to be in sync. Hey, I think to get your voice back on track. I think sometimes we do have to kind of take that, all right, that's coming from love, So we do kind of have to also check ourselves so that we don't get too caught up in the familiarity in a sense where it just get buck wild. Yeah. So you also have to, on the flip side, when somebody in your circle come to you to kind of help you rearrange your voice or rearrange situations, you got to take heed too.
Yeah, because that's how you grow. I mean, just to kind of push what you're saying, when you are allowing yourself to do your part, everybody else is going to do their part too. You know what I'm saying? Because and John, he can relate to this crazy because in music, when you have a band, everyone's part is important. It's crucial. It's what makes the band, amazing. Is what makes that sound, that signature amazing. I know you can touch more into that, John.
Yeah. I mean, and like I said, every voice is unique, and it takes not only just somebody who's an avid speaker, but an avid listener. And in like Shemaya, in music production, each sound, each voice play a part in producing one mass sound. And one thing is louder than the other, or is not EQ'd a certain way, and a certain frequency is not brought out. It distorts the entire production.
Woo.
And that
preaching, man.
That's the beauty in having a mass of voices, just like in a choir. If one person is singing louder than the other, it kills the blend. If one person is not singing as soft as the next person, it doesn't sound full. And so in this time where we have so many groups who are broadcasting their voices, saying certain things, it's very important that as a unit, we're on one accord and we're saying the same thing. And back to the childhood stuff, I remember I used to get in trouble for this, especially when my voice started changing. And my mom would always say, well, you take that bass out your voice. And I'm like, well, I'm just saying X, Y, Z. And she would always tell me, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Wow. And a lot of times, because we're passionate, and this is like the disclaimer to everything that we've been talking about. We're so passionate about, our gifting and wanting to reach people. We have to be careful how we say certain things, because our passion may not be somebody else's passion. Our conviction may not be somebody else's conviction. Not saying that it will never be, but to force, our vision, our passion on another person who may have an inkling, okay, I might want to tap into this. It may not be their time. And a lot of us, and I might get in trouble for this, but y'all can hit me up on social media. We'll talk about it later. A lot of times we do ourselves a disservice, not because of what we're saying, but because of how we say what we say. Right. We can really amplify our message if we say it, like say, in positivity and truth and honesty and in love, rather than, hey, go get my music. Y'all better go get, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Things like that, as opposed to, hey, I got a brand new single coming out. I would love for y'all to check out my music. Here's, bam, bam, bam. we have a way to freshen up our message so that way it's relatable, and I don't think there's a word, receivable.
Delivery, man. Delivery is key, man. And B. Michele, I know you got something to say, man. I know you got something to say to that.
I think that he's totally on point, and I am definitely guilty of this myself, which I realized maybe like a couple weeks ago. I realized that sometimes you probably what you meant to say and what kind of came out probably when it doesn't match, and then it's received differently. So you do have to be totally in tune with how the message. Because I know that sometimes my passion can be taken for aggressiveness, but it's
same here.
About seeing my people grow and build great businesses because I know what's out there ahead when your foundation is on point. So sometimes I gotta really be in tune, like in the words of Cat Williams, you gotta be in tune with your star player. So it's very important to be in tune with your star player and know the magnitude that your voice has. And sometimes I didn't. And one of my friends had to really tell me, he was like, you be Michele, like you can't, like you're at a point to where now you really gotta watch how the message comes out. And I'm like, I just want to be me. Cause I'm in a free state right now. Like, and it took me a while to get here. And so, like when you've been, I ain't gonna say locked up in a sense, but like when you haven't felt like you can really totally be your whole authentic self, and you finally get to that point where you can be your whole authentic self, like
make me scurry.
I'm like, I'm happy, and I'm like, hey, it is what it is. But he had to then be like, hey, like you got this whole following, you got people that watch you, listen to you, and I was like, okay, you're right. So maybe I probably shouldn't have said it this way. But I know that it came from a place of love, and so sometimes I think there is sometimes a hard time when it came from a place of love, but it gets received different. So then you got to really be in tune on the delivery. It's like I said, you really didn't really mean no harm. You really was like, hey, X, Y, and Z, but it might have came across another way. And so when you on platforms like we're on, you do have to, be mindful. As much as I'm loving being in this free space and this whole authenticity, because I feel like it's just important to be honest and upfront with people. And so I'm totally in that space in every aspect of my life. Like, hey, we not doing this X, Y, and Z. Like I'm laying it out there for you. But when you're definitely using your voice in a space of advocacy, in a space of trying to encourage and motivate, like John, you kind of right on, you might have to get a little bit of that bass out your voice so that the message is received, because sometimes your passion can get, misconstrued for anger or aggression, when it's really super amped about this. And I'm like, I'm ready to see you I'm ready to see you win. But I feel like you also got to start, you got to come with a certain level of that too, in order to get the message received. Because if it's like all nice, smile, and meek, you got to come with a little rah, rah, rah.
Yeah, I don't know if they ready for me to go rah, rah, rah.
Come with a little rah, rah, rah. But I think it's about, like you said, it's about navigating and knowing how much rah, rah, rah to put on it. So that get labeled, aggressive and angry, and you're trying to push something. It's just like when you are in tune, which is another topic we can talk about later, but honestly, this value goes with this. When you are really in tune and understand your purpose, like it's hard to tone that down, because a lot of people, when you really get in tune with what your purpose is, like you just like a kid in the candy store. Like, honestly. And so I think sometimes, knowing the value of your voice and also aligning it with your purpose, that's a whole nother situation. But I'm just saying, sometimes the rah, rah, rah take over. When those two meet, when those two are aligned, it get wild.
Yeah.
And I agree with that real quick, John. I agree with that because what you said earlier in the show about, using your voice respectfully. Because if you think about an athlete, whatever sport it is, they have their on time, they have their off time. When it's game time, they going full throttle, they going crazy, they in your face, they going to eat your lunch, bag of chips, and the shake. But off the court or off the field, they back to their, reflective mindset and, just carrying themselves as a professional business person or whatever. So there is, yes, I agree, the right time and place to show that passion. And then another time and place where you just got to, lay it down a couple notches.
No, real talk. It definitely is. So, John, you was really, that was a good, really, really, good key point. Yeah. Is definitely understanding kind of when to put that bass in your voice. Mm-hmm. and when not to, because you don't want to scare them. Because what's funny, like the motivational speaker of ET, I ain't gonna lie, very rarely I watch his videos, especially 4 years ago when I first got put on to him. But he come with the passion, but that's part of his brand. That he come with the passion, like if you invite him to come speak to your audience, you know what you getting, and you're inviting him for that reason.
That's good. What you just said right there, so good, because you got me in your lane, man. Stop switching lanes. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So you that rah. Sometimes but if that's your thing, hey, there's people hire him for the rah.
Yeah.
If you've ever watched any of his speeches, no matter if he's talking to professional athletes, college athletes, just regular business people, he bring that same throttle on 3,000 to everything. But that's what I'm saying. He built a brand off of that. But I think not saying that he don't necessarily, I'm not saying that he don't tone it down. I'm not saying it, but I will say sometimes you have to, once you find your voice, and that's his voice. So figuring out what your voice is and then figuring out the value that your voice has. And I feel like, honestly, we can talk about it another time, but when those two align with, then you in tune with your purpose, it's a wrap. You can't help but to help change people's life.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And finding your voice, I feel like is an ongoing process. I think we know what we want to say. We know what we're passionate about, and we know what we're comfortable speaking on. And I'm saying this from my experience as a vocalist. It took me a long time to not find my voice, but to be comfortable with my voice, because I have such my speaking voice is one way, then my singing voice is totally different. And using my voice in certain situations, let's say live at Breed, live at church, at the crib, chilling, practicing, in the studio. Those are four different elements to how I use my voice. And I'm constantly refining all four of those elements so that way I can get the best use out of my voice. And I think with discovering your voice and like B. Michele said, kind of aligning your purpose with your voice, it's an ongoing process because your voice can be applied to several different areas of your purpose. You can use your voice to broadcast your purpose. You can use your voice to enforce your purpose. Mm-hmm. Those are it's the same concept, but two totally different things. Whereas I want to let people know that I support breast cancer, and using your voice to enforce that purpose, getting out there, going to Susan G. Komen Foundation or whatever, that's using your voice to enforce your purpose. Don't just let people know what you're about. Use your voice to enforce what you're about.
No, it's funny that you said that too, because I think it's a good point that you have different voices. You don't have to use the same voice to every situation. So I think sometimes when you understand that you have a variety of voices. Yeah. And to use those voices, I think is really important. So it's like when I'm talking to startup entrepreneurs that are just coming, trying to figure this thing out, my voice is a little bit different from my seasoned folks. And even with my client base, when I'm talking to my older, literally my seasoned saints, that's like 55 and up, when I'm talking to those clients, my voice is a little bit different from my seasoned saints than they are for my 30 and my 20-year-old clients. Because I'm like rah with them. Like, let's go.
Hey, I gotta put this out there.
Because they still trying to figure out how to log on to Facebook. My voice is a little bit more encouraging, a little bit more soothing with my seasoned clients. But yeah, no, I get them other ones that rah, like, let's cut it out, stop playing. So I think your message and the tone of your voice you have a different voice for different settings. And it's so crazy, it was so funny. So they had the convention thing last night, and so somebody mentioned how I was watching on CNN how so Barack spoke last night at the thing, but they just mentioned how his voice, the tone, his message has changed from how he used to speak when he was the president to now how he speaks out of office. The tone and his voice and that bass, he got a little bit more bass in his voice since he left office. So he used a little the word choices is a little bit now in your face.
Yeah.
Now that he out of office, I think that's a good example. As you see situations, you have to have the right voice for the right situation. And I think watching him speak over these last 8 years is a good example of how your voice changes and how your word choice changes depending on the situation. Because he couldn't say some of the things that he say now. Then.
Right.
He could. Right. He could, but hey.
Right. He could. Yeah.
But I think it's just a good example of watching the progression of a person who's in tune and know their voice, and how you use it and you change it to fit situations.
Yeah, I think y'all both hit it around the head, because at the end of the day, John, say what you said again. You said something about you had to get familiar with your voice before you know your voice. Because I want you to say it the way you said it.
But we had to replay the tape because I was kind of in my vein. But I mean,
But no, in all seriousness, like, you was talking about how before you find your voice, you got to first be comfortable with your voice. Yeah. Because I think that is so key.
I mean, like, because it's an ongoing process. You know, it took me a while. I knew I had a voice, but becoming comfortable with your voice. And I mean, you hear yourself talk every day, and you yourself sound different than, like, you know, to other people, or even when you hear yourself, you're like, that was me, you know. Yeah. And I think with that, knowing, you know, the just the minor stuff about your voice, you know, how you may get just a tad bit nervous and your voice kind of get a little shaky when you're around certain people or in certain situations. I think that's a part of really identifying your voice, you know, and you get amped up in certain situations. Your voice go up. You turn up another octave. You get a little, you know, angry, upset. There's a little bit of bass in that voice, you know. So I mean, just knowing your voice and being comfortable with your voice plays a part in your message delivery. And like I alluded to earlier, you know, your voice should bring about maturation and motivation. And how can people be passionate about something? No, let me phrase that. It's hard to convey and relay your passion and your voice if you yourself are not comfortable in your passion or using your voice.
Boom.
Say that.
Man, that's a whole nother show. You gotta pay them bills, man. But nah, like that, right? Man, don't forget that, man, what you just said there, because I think that's a whole nother show right there. That is so important. If people can understand what you just said. If you got bad memory, just listen to podcast over again. But on a serious note, because I don't want to exit this, because John Stevens has a music project that he's been working on. And if you listen to this podcast, then this is exclusive, because this part won't make the radio, but this will make the podcast. John, for a few minutes, tell the people the name of the project and when's it coming out.
All right, so this is a quarantine special. This song that I'm dropping on August 28th, next Friday, for those that are listening, was birthed, if you will, during quarantine. So I say quarantine hasn't been bad for everybody. I wrote a wedding song called Eternally that will be dropping on next Friday, August 28th. It's available now for pre-order on iTunes, but on the 28th, it will be everywhere. It's $1. And I wanted to step out and do something beyond my normal voice. A lot of people know me as a gospel artist, a gospel musician, producer, XYZ. But I wanted to do something to kind of help keep the positivity, keep the love alive in crazy times that we're living in. And so I wanted to use my voice and my platform to just reach a little bit further. And I'm really excited about this project, man. I'm this single. And for those that are listening, you can check it out. I'm the lead vocalist. And plug to my boys, Top Shelf. They played on the song with me. Alan Golden, Ryan Hainsworth, Dera Kendry, and Kevin Davidson. We are known as Top Shelf. Y'all go check out the single Eternally next Friday, August 28th, John Phillip, on iTunes, Spotify, everywhere you download music.
Boom.
What's up with that virtual listening party then? Come on with it now.
Listen, I got it in the works. We're going to get one crack.
Hey, B. Michele always got the marketing thing on down pat, man.
That's it. I gotta do one.
You can at least put it on Zoom. Like, come on, you might as well go on to put together a virtual listening party. Come on.
Hey, man, I gotta do it now.
You got to, man. They listen to podcasts.
You drop a single, God dog it now.
Hey, we might want to hang this up because B. Michele coming that fire. I don't know they're ready for that, man.
She didn't put that picture in her foot.
That's that rah method. If you gonna do it, do it right.
Oh man, I think B. Michele about to do a marketing class for independent artists. I can feel it.
No, but like I'm just saying, because obviously we can't go out in public. I'm just saying, go and get you a virtual, party together. Come on.
Yeah, I gotta do it.
Hey man, you do that. Just let us know because we're gonna push that everywhere, man. Just let us know, dude. For real.
Little session, little living room session or something. I don't know.
With the COVID jams, I put a little something together.
But hey,
look, that's the big boys out do, because everybody Anthony Hamilton, John Legend, they all, in their living rooms. Go, come on with it.
I got the space. I need to do it. I'm going to do it.
Well, if you listen to this podcast, make sure you go follow John Stevens. And John, for those in the back, tell them your social media so that they can look forward to this.
PhilFree Music on all social media. Facebook, PhilFree Music Co. Again, single dropping August 28th. Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, SoundCloud, YouTube, PhilFree Music. And
once again, I am Refocus Radio with John Stevens and Coach B. Michele. Don't forget what John's talking about, because I'm telling you, this live stream is exclusive. I mean, B. Michele kind of birthed it, but it's exclusive. You heard it here first. So B. Michele, before we go, tell them how they can contact you in all your social media.
Coach B. Michele, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. Coach B. Michele, BMICHELE. Hit me up.
Once again, I am Refocus Radio. This is also going to be on the radio station. So if you didn't hear this portion, it's because you get all the good meat on the radio station. So this is the exclusive bonus stuff that we do every single month. So once again, I am Refocus Radio, John Stevens and Coach B. Michele. We ain't going nowhere. You go read IamRefocusRadio.com. They have their own section page. Got the bio, got their links, all that, because they are the special guests every single month. And I'm telling you, man, if you sleeping, wake up, please, because what we're talking about, they got so much stuff on their schedule. They free up their schedule just to help you, the listener, reach your goals and your dreams, because all y'all have a valuable voice. Start using it. So like we say on every single show, keep God first, stay focused, and peace.
Thanks for listening to I Am Refocused Radio, brought to you by Documation. Documation is a full-service technology solutions company that provides IT, print, and software managed services. Headquartered in San Antonio, Documation has been serving customers across Texas for nearly 30 years. Visit Mation.com today. Hi, San Antonio. Need a barber? Visit our good friend Rico Rodriguez, the owner of Rockefeller's Barbershop in San Antonio, Texas, 1733 Babcock Road, and book your appointment today by calling 210-782-5188.